The housing market is rough. Any quality housing is overpriced and understocked, while less expensive housing is infested with rats and adorned with black mold. But don't fret, there is another option. And no, I don't mean homelessness, unionization, or eating the rich. Unless of course you want to. But I'm talking about Subnautica. Subnautica is a tropical paradise with dazzling ocean views and ocean wildlife that will take your breath away. And of course, brand new housing with not a single moldy wall or infestation of rats. So come take a swim with us as we introduce you to new waters and help you find a home that could change your life. Before we start the tours though, there's a couple things we need to get straight. If you haven't seen our previous video that explains how our housing is priced, I suggest you take a look at that before continuing with this video. It's only like 27 minutes. Holy shit. Well anyway, there are some changes, corrections, and statements that need to be made concerning the previous video. Many of which were brought to our attention by you lovely commenters. Yes, so thoughtful. Well, let's begin. First, we need to clear up a misunderstanding. According to these comments, it seems like some of you, for some reason, don't believe our company gives appropriate compensation for hard-working laborers. On the contrary, for those that gather the raw materials used in building estates, we pay them what we believe to be appropriate compensation for their labor of picking up a rock off the ground. For the builders, we of course pay them the appropriate compensation for their labor of holding down a button on a habitat builder. And, of course, all of the funds you use to purchase an estate will be handed over to the hardest working and most important laborers of all, us, the landowners. I do hope this clears up any misunderstandings. Okay, now let's talk about some price changes. We'll start with an incredibly important correction. Some commenters pointed out that during our calculations to find the volume of the Stalker tooth, someone neglected to divide the equation by 3. So while I originally said the volume for the Stalker tooth is 1018 cubic centimeters, this number only comes from defining this part of the equation. When we finish the equation by dividing the 1018 by 3, we get the actual volume of the Stalker tooth, which is 339 cubic centimeters, which makes the resulting price of a Stalker tooth go from $188 down to $62.78. We're deeply sorry for the mistake. Our customers are our top priority, and we want nothing more than to provide you with outstanding service. We hope you find consolation in knowing that the party at fault has been dealt with accordingly. Moving on, there were a couple people that asked why we didn't just use the price of actual aerogel or fiber mesh instead of its component parts. Well, that's because both materials are produced in-house with our own fabricator after receiving the component parts from contracted gatherers. And therefore, we need to be compensated for those component parts that we initially paid the contractor for. We promise it has nothing to do with the fact that aerogel and fiber mesh earth prices would be cheaper than the price of their component parts. Next, we received a comment about using the market price for cut diamonds instead of raw diamonds. And after some research, we determined that this is a fair assessment. It turns out the price of diamonds depends on a variety of factors. Generally, when it comes to the diamonds that most of us would buy for jewelry, the price is based on what is known as the 4 C's: carat, cut, clarity, and color. Carat being the weight of the diamond, where 1 carat equals 0.2 grams. Interestingly, a diamond's carat does not increase proportionately to size. Cut is determined by how well the diamond interacts with light, which basically means how pretty does the diamond sparkle. The more sparkly the diamond, the more expensive. We really are simple creatures, aren't we? Clarity for a diamond comes in many different types and is determined by how many flaws are present on the diamond. This includes both internal and external flaws. Here is a chart pricing different clarity values that go from the highest quality, which is FL or flawless, to the lowest quality, I3 or included 3, which is a very flawed diamond. And color, which is determined by the diamond's tint. Here is a diamond color chart. where D through F is colorless and the most expensive, down to SZ, which is a very noticeable yellow or brown tint, and a much cheaper diamond. Now, for our purposes, with this dirt encrusted diamond found in a rock in the world of Subnautica, some of these 4 Cs are difficult to measure, while others are completely irrelevant. Carat is based on weight or mass of the diamond, and though the diamond's mass isn't entirely dependent on its size, because of Subnautica's lack of scales, we're just going to keep the mass we already gathered from our calculation in the previous video. Cut for our diamond is irrelevant because the diamond is raw and uncut. Clarity is based on a close examination of both the outer and inner parts of the diamond, which cannot be examined due to the diamond's non-transparent design. Therefore, we will use one of the middle diamond types from the clarity chart to determine our price. We'll go with VS1. Finally, by looking at the diamond, we can somewhat determine the color, and referring to this diamond color chart, our diamond likely falls into the category for G, a whitish diamond. And applying these aspects to our diamond, we can determine that the price is about $1,190 per carat. And since 1 carat is equal to 0.2 grams, then we know that there are 5 carats in a gram. So we multiply 1,190 by 5, and we get the price of $5,950 per gram. Then we multiply that by the diamond's mass, and we find that the new price of 1 Subnautica diamond is $182,446,992. Now additionally, there were some comments that mentioned their displeasure with us using the price for a material's purest form instead of the price of ore. We have 3 reasons for this. 1, people don't sell ores. Usually after an ore is mined, it's quickly put through a refinement process to save on transport costs. So the only priced ores are those bought when trading directly with a private business, or those being sold by your friendly neighborhood eBay man, neither of which constitutes an easily understandable market price. 2. If the material is an ore, we could approximate its purity using an equation, if we had the density or the mass. But unfortunately, we can't find the density or mass of the ore because Subnautica does not provide us a method to measure them. 3. Subnautica lists the materials as the element name and not the ore, though there are 3 exceptions: copper, silver, and nickel. However, if they are really ores, then the ores would only contain this percentage of raw material from their respective rock. And let's just think for a second. Would 2% of this rock times 2 be enough material to make a whole spool of copper wire? No. Therefore, we are going to assume that the so-called ores contain significantly more material than an ore normally would. And so, to simplify matters, the price of these so-called ores will remain the same as the previous video. Now that we've clarified some of the price changes, here is the revised chart for the dollar per gram amount for each of our materials. And yes, we realize that this changes the price of the previous housing, but those houses have already been sold, so moving on. Additionally, there's one more thing we've added. Take a look.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
That's right, due to popular demand, we've added the Crater Edge biome to our list. We had initially expected to give this biome a minus 40% price change, because it's entirely void of anything at all, except for the giant worms. But apparently, there's a really big demand for it, so the price change will be a 10% increase. Though the properties are still being built, we'll be sure to give a tour in the future. I'm sure our tour guide will thank you for that one. Alright, that's enough charts. Now there were some more comments asking why we keep referring to this planet as Subnautica and not its official name, 4546b, which is a great question. So we asked our marketing department if we should start naming the planet 4546b instead of Subnautica. And they laughed at us. Apparently a name is really valuable to market a product. Like, imagine you get a piece of plastic, slap a computer inside it, then call it a rabbit. You could probably make a couple $1,000,000 selling it, even if it's effectively useless.
What is this?
You are holding a taco.
But, of course, naming goes both ways. Imagine you had a website named after a little bird, and then change the name to a single letter, synonymous with adult entertainment. According to our marketing team, you probably see a little bit of a drop in value. And so, due to these reasons, we will continue to refer to this planet as Subnautica, as our marketing team suggests. Finally, we need to talk about hands. Specifically, these hands. A couple comments mention that these hands are just an overlay on the screen and are not actually rendered in the world. And if that's the case, then we have a problem, because that would make it completely impossible to measure anything at all with our hand. Which in turn would mean all the work and calculations we did in the previous video were completely useless. So, is it an overlay? Did I mess up big time? Let's take a look. First, what is an overlay? An overlay is actually a trick used in many games that take a first-person perspective. In these games, you'll have three main parts to your screen. The HUD, where you have all your health and bullets and whatnot, the hands or weapon, and the rest of the world that you can run around in. You can think of each of these as being completely separate layers, and therefore will never be able to interact with each other. And as the HUD and hands are layered over the world and not within it, they are often known as an overlay. You can see this working when you run into a wall. No matter how close you get, your weapon will never clip through it. This is a clear sign of an overlay. However, some crazy developers will decide to put the hands and weapon within the same layer as the rest of the world. This means the hands and weapons will touch or clip through walls, items, people, or whatever is in the world. And additionally, they can be used for measuring other things within it. Now let's see, is this weapon an overlay or rendered within the world? Now, as our sword clips right through that wall, we can see that it is of course not an overlay, but actually rendered within the world. Let's look at a couple more examples. Is this an overlay? Well, let's run into this wall, and as the weapon doesn't clip through, we know it's an overlay. Is this an overlay? Seems like. Yes, it is. Is this an overlay? Looks like it's clipping through, so that's a no, it's not an overlay. Is this an overlay? Yes. Is this an overlay? Yup. Is this an overlay? Yup. Yeah, it turns out pretty much every first-person perspective game makes the hands and weapons an overlay. But the question is, what about Subnautica? Well, if our hand doesn't clip through this titanium in the world, then it's an overlay. But if the hand passes through the titanium or touches it, then it's rendered within the world and therefore can be used as a measuring device. Now let's see. Oh, it clipped right through, which means, yes, the hands are rendered within the world, and therefore our calculations are valid. Okay, that's all the points we needed to make. Now it's time for the introduction of today's housing options. We hope you can find one that suits you. Our next set of houses takes us to the Jellyshroom cave. This cave is a huge system hidden under the shallows. Though it should be a dark and dreary place, the massive luminescent fauna known as Jellyshrooms let out a glow that illuminates the whole cave a magnificent pink. Their beauty is widely admired and appreciated by visitors and residents alike, making a property within their vicinity increase in price by an additional 20%. There is, however, one caveat to the beautiful Jellyshrooms. Their sustenance comes from the symbiotic relationship with a particularly large and occasionally aggressive fauna, the crab snake. The crab snake resides within the stalk of the Jellyshroom and will occasionally jump out to bring prey back to its lair, which means they could sometimes mistake a resident for a tasty morsel. Though as long as you keep moving, the creatures generally won't be a threat. Their presence within the cave, however, means we will lower the base price of a property by 15%. Additionally, in some corners of the cave, nasty little biters take a bite out of whatever gets close. The creatures aren't necessarily harmless, but you probably won't find yourself in the belly of one, though your fingers might. And so the presence of these annoying little creatures will decrease the price of housing in this area by an additional 5%. Now, let's begin the tour of the Jelly Cave. Hang on a sec. Before the tours start, I wanted to let you know that I made a spreadsheet that you can use to calculate the price of your own Subnautica house. If you'd like to use it, it's available here on my Patreon. Ooh. The first tier gives access to the spreadsheet, downloads for most of the charts from this video, and some other stuff too. Plus, you'll be supporting this channel and the weird videos I make. If you're interested, check out the link down there in the description place. Okay? On with the tours. Hello and welcome back to the affordable tier housing option for the Jellyshroom Cave. Before we get started, there is a small announcement. Now, unfortunately, because this housing is quite a bit below the surface, like 253 meters, and incidentally, in a cave, we are too far away from the surface for you to use any sort of solar panels. Uh-oh. This will, of course, increase the price of your housing because you'll need a different form of electrical generation. So that is a bit unfortunate. However, we do know that the affordable tier housing would have trouble paying more money, as always. So we've located this housing on top of a much older house. Look at that, as you can see. But don't worry, it's less of a hazard and more of just an eyesore. Wow, that is ugly. So, because of your silent neighbors, we have decided to give you a discounted price to the estate. So keep that in mind as we are going through the tour. What the... Anyway. Alright, let's get started, I guess. Here we are. This is the affordable tier housing. Now, as you can probably see, because of the lack of solar panels, more space was needed for a different type of power generation. That is this giant bioreactor. This bioreactor is very important in that it stops you from suffocating within your home by creating oxygen, which is very useful. Obviously, it is massive and it needed to take up much of the space in your room. So we hope you don't mind that. Now, in terms of how to use it, we have graciously provided you with a lantern fruit tree. Wow, ooh, it looks so delicious. Ooh, yay. Ooh, ugh, ugh. You can also use these lantern fruits to power your bioreactor. There, electricity and oxygen. We do suggest you do this every time you go to bed. Otherwise, you might not wake up. Okay, anyway, speaking of beds, here is an affordable bed for you affordable tier housing people. And, well, now we do know that thinking may not be your strong suit. So we decided to provide you with a sign right here to help explain to you what you should do with this here bed. We do hope it helps you to understand its function. Now, you may have noticed that this housing has a little bit less furniture than the last affordable tier housing. Once again, this is because we had to provide a different source of power generation, so we could not furnish it as maybe anyone would have liked. But we have provided you with a bench. And, wow, a counter. Unfortunately, one of the things that was cut due to the price was the coffee machine that made the crunchy coffee. So if you would like some crunchy coffee, then maybe you should visit your neighbors in the medium tier housing. Please don't bother the high tier housing for anything. Anyway, once again, we have provided you with a radio, though I still don't know what you'd use these for. And because of the lack of furniture in this house, we thought we would provide you with a cheaper option for decoration. These pictures. Now, you might have noticed that these pictures look really similar. Like really similar, wow. In fact, almost identical. Well, that's because they are all exactly the same picture. Because, of course, we couldn't afford to get you anything else due to the affordable tier housing. So we hope you like this rabbit fish thing because, well, you're going to be seeing a lot of it. Now, I will say, some of the people, not me, but some of the people did feel bad about providing you with such little space and furniture. So to make up for that, they decided to add on a little extra space here for you to come and contemplate your destitute existence. So here you can sit down right here and look at the lovely flowers and the sign that says peaceful. What? So anyway, that is the affordable tier housing option in the Jellyshroom cave. If you don't care that much about space, you don't care that much about suffocating in your low power generation house, then this might be the one for you. And after adding everything up, the price of this housing comes to... wow. $101,000. If you're interested, please wait until the end of the video to bid on this house. Thanks, I guess. Okay, hello again everyone, and welcome to the medium tier housing option for the Jellyshroom Cave. This estate will be a little bit different than the previous option from the Shallows. Now we figured because of your current situation as a medium tier housing buyer and your close proximity to the hard workers at the higher tier housing level, you might want to utilize the space in your home to be a bit more profitable even outside of working hours. So we worked closely with evolutionary psychologists and business experts to create a space that maximizes potential for growth and profit. Why don't we go and take a look inside? So this room is the terminal. Customers that are bussed here by Seamoth or Sea Truck will first arrive in this room. And we fitted the room with various plants to make your customers feel right at home. And of course, in accordance with the code, we have provided an easily accessible first aid kit. Now, once the customers disembark the vehicle, they will be greeted with this intelligently placed word sign. And then they will be funneled into the waiting room. Here is the waiting room. This room has been fitted with optimal seating and a coffee machine to provide a smooth waiting experience for your customers. Additionally, the waiting room also contains a hatch so that customers that commute by Flipper can arrive directly to the waiting room. Now, Thank you. Now, I'm sure you've been wondering, for what purpose will these customers be coming? And how will it help me optimize my free time to keep grinding for profits? Well, come with me. Once you call your customers in, they will walk through this hallway and be inundated with these strategically placed word signs, which, according to evolutionary psychologists, promote a feeling of calmness and ambition in your customers. And finally, the customers will arrive to your product, the sole reason they sought you out, the lecture hall. That's right, this estate is specifically designed towards the extremely lucrative lecture selling business. If you're already selling lectures, or even if you've just had a ghostwriter or AI finish writing your first self-help book, then this housing is for you. The lecture hall is fitted with a large amount of seating so you can maximize paying customers without sacrificing comfortability. The rest of the room's design features windows in the back of the room to open up the space, while the front of the room reduces distraction and draws attention to the speaker at the center. And after you've finished teaching your customers, then everyone can head down to the break room for refreshments and networking. Here is the break room. Additionally, the trash can is strategically placed to keep customers from blocking the ladder. Once the customers have finished with their refreshments, they can exit through the hatch, so they do not get in the way of your other customers who are waiting for your lecture in the waiting room. And finally, when you're finished lecturing for the day, you can retire to your bedroom. This contains your own private entrance and a bed to sleep in, so you can recharge for tomorrow's grind. Okay, so thank you everyone for taking a look at the medium tier housing option in the Jellyshroom Cave. I hope this... Wow. You may want to put some warning signs for customers that arrive by Flipper. Anyway, I hope this house was to your liking. After adding everything up, the price of this housing comes to $22,310,000. If you're interested in bidding for this house, please wait until the end of this video. Thanks for coming, and we hope to see you again soon. Hello and welcome everyone to the high-tier housing tour in the Jellyshroom Cave. Today we have a particular treat for you with this mushroom-themed vacation home. I hope you're ready to be awed as we show you this shroom-tastic estate. Come on in. And as this is a vacation home, it is expected that you will be arriving by private vehicle. So, we'll be entering through the moon pool. I mean, how else would you be expected to get all the way down here? By flipper? Please. Alright, and upon arriving at your brand new property, you will be engulfed by the sweet scent of exotic local fungi, while your eyes will be drawn to the beautiful jelly shrooms that decorate the outer landscape. And oh, what's this? That's right, as a gift for purchasing this property, we will throw in an exclusive mushroom-themed sea moth. With only one ever made, its scarcity could make it worth more than the estate itself. Funny world, isn't it? Alright, let's move on to the main hall. Now between the moon pool and the main hall, we've constructed this incredible passageway, made almost entirely of glass. In fact, it should be mentioned that more glass was used to build this entire estate than was used to build any other building in the whole of Subnautica. If you purchase this estate, that's just a little thing you can gloat about with your friends during your dinners at Michelin star restaurants. Now here is the main hall. As you can see, we prepared a massive aquarium that's 2 stories tall. And we even managed to grow some of the rare jelly shrooms at the bottom of the tank. Additionally, if you look closely, you'll see that just about every fish has a bright green glow. What is this, you ask? Well, not too long ago, the creatures on this planet were suffering from a rare, deadly disease. The disease had symptoms of green glowing pustules on the skin. Now, the disease was cured and effectively eradicated before we even began operations here. However, one of our contracting divers managed to find an extremely rare specimen that still had signs of the disease. Before the diver passed away from some unknown reason, he gave to us the infected specimen. And we took the liberty of putting the specimen in our tank filled with all kinds of rare and exotic fish. And so the disease spread. So now just about all these fish are infected and are likely the only creatures in existence to still have this extremely deadly disease. Having them in your aquarium would make quite the impressive talking point during one of your conferences. Now, as this is a vacation home, it's expected that you'll be attending with your family or friends or maybe just someone you want to impress. And therefore, we have of course prepared an extravagant mushroom-themed guest room that features both a bedroom as well as a sizable recreation room fit with a coffee machine. Beautiful. Now, once again going below, you can see that the hall is filled with seating to entertain all manner of guests with your magnificent aquarium or the stunning jelly shrooms just outside. Moving on, we have another room that could be used to entertain guests. But perhaps, at this point, you're wondering, isn't powering such a massive estate going to be expensive? Well, not necessarily. Come, take a look outside for a moment. Now, this estate is deliberately built right next to a lava geyser. And utilizing thermal plants, you will be provided with easy and cheap energy forever, without any need for maintenance or fear of suffocation. I'm sure the medium and low tier housing buyers envy you for that with their bioreactors. Okay, now let's go back in and head down a level. Now here, we have even more places to lounge about for your lovely guests. And then, down here, we have the magnificent guest room. Now, do you ever have that investor, politician, or judge you need a favor from? Well, this right here is it. This is the mushroom. This is a guest room where almost every wall and even the ceiling is a window. And outside, massive jellyshrooms tower over you. In fact, there is no housing that comes this close to such a massive jellyshroom. If your guest doesn't give you that funding or tax break after staying a night in this room, then they aren't worth bribing anyway. Okay, now we'll head up a floor, and over here we'll show you the most impressive part about this whole estate. Yes, more impressive than fish with an extinct disease, or the clever wordplay of the mushroom. Yes, this is the glass tunnel. It reaches almost the whole length of the estate. When you walk through it, it's as if you're swimming amongst the dangerous crab snakes and the luminous jellyshrooms. At the end is the most important room of all. Your room. The room maximizes comfort while still allowing beautiful sights perfect for a vacation home. Gazing out this window, you can see a jellyshroom and sometimes its crab snake resident. And from the other, you could admire your massive estate with record-breaking glass structures. And when you want to retire, the sweet scent of the pink mushrooms and the green walls relax you so you can lose yourself to relaxation within your one-of-a-kind vacation home. Okay, and that concludes our tour of the high-tier housing in the Jellyshroom Cave. After adding everything up, the price of this housing comes to $123,040,000. If you're interested in bidding for this housing, first we'll need to confirm you have adequate finances to purchase an estate of this price. And then, once the confirmation is complete, you may start bidding once this video ends. Thank you so much for coming, and we hope to see you again in Subnautica soon. Now that the tours have ended, it's time once again for the bidding. However, it seems that last time some people were disappointed because they felt that they didn't have a chance to bid. Well, housing is limited, and we run entirely on a first-come, first-served basis. But, of course, we wouldn't want our customers to feel disadvantaged. So, this time we've decided to lead with a countdown. You know, like a race. The fastest wins! That way it's totally even. Ready? 3, 2, 1, call! Hello? What's that? Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, the bidding is finished, and it seems like once again, Dark Boulder has the fastest call. Thank you everyone for coming. Tune in next time for another chance to bid on the house of your dreams. Goodbye for now. Now, how did you get in there? Oh, you're eating all the fish? Oh, that's a lot of money down the drain.